The Sermon on the Mount is rightly regarded as the greatest sermon ever preached. When we think about it, really most Christian sermons are variations on the Sermon on the Mount. Of course, at different times, we draw on different points of emphasis of Jesus' teaching. But really, all Christian sermons, in the end, at least should have some contact with at least the spirit of the Sermon on the Mount, including the Beatitudes, today's gospel lesson. On this particular day, the words of Jesus are particularly resonant with me. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. We have a funeral in this room at 2 o'clock today of Dean Burke. I got word yesterday that another beloved parishioner, Ed Hunley, has died. So in this moment, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted, reacts very strongly to those of us who knew these dear brothers of ours. With all that's happening in the world right now, the words of Jesus, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Would that we human beings could find a way to live together in peace. But Jesus holds up the vision for us forever. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. At different moments in time, we will draw on different parts of the Sermon on the Mount, but it's all there all the time. And today, in just these few verses, we're reminded of the importance of Jesus' greatest sermon. I'm at the point of my career where we have some students passing through here who, as part of their training, and every time we have a field education student from Sewanee, I tell them very on in our relationship, there are as many ways to preach as there are preachers. That's absolutely true. There are as many different ways to preach as there are preachers. And a part of the preaching vocation is for him or her to find their voice. It took me more than half my career to find my preaching voice. From day one, I was comfortable teaching. From day one, I was comfortable in the role of pastoral care. But it's only in these last few years that I've really grown to be at ease and at peace with my own preaching voice. And every minister, whether they're lay or ordained, anybody who preaches, has to come to that point where they are at peace and at ease with their own preaching voice. But in that journey, it's important for every preacher to remember our voice is only worthy of hearing if it's connected always to the voice, the Spirit of Jesus. The best teachers of preaching make this point. Sermons aren't about creativity. Sermons are about communication. And the best communication, of course, has to be heard. It's one thing to formulate the words, but those words have to be heard for true communication to happen. C.S. Lewis said very memorably, if you cannot express your thoughts in a clear way, then your thoughts are confused. It's one of the great one-liners I've ever come across. If you can't express yourself in ways that are clear, then your thinking is confused. Good Christian thinking and preaching is not about creativity. It's about communication. It's about being faithful to the voice of Jesus. So in the Beatitudes, we have 9 guiding principles for the entirety of our lives. If it's been a while since you've read the Beatitudes, take your bulletin home with you, or just use your own Bible at home, and just let these words wash over you for a few more days. 9 guiding principles for the entirety of our lives. I think a lot about the place of music I do a lot of listening to music when I'm in the car. I've heard at either 14 or 16, but people say you will listen the rest of your life to the music you listened to when you were a teenager. And I see heads shaking. I don't know what you'd think some days if you had a camera in my car and I hear Van Halen or, the Doobie Brothers, and I just crank it up immediately. It's like I'm back in the 1970s. It's my music. And my point is this: of course, over time, we can add to what we like. We can certainly evolve in our musical taste. But most of us return back to that original, don't we? It's what we heard in our formative years that we hold on to. And here's the point. The Sermon on the Mount is what we're meant to hold on to. The Beatitudes. Most of us, if we grew up in church, learned them as children. And we spend the rest of our lives trying to come to peace with, how can I actually live up to these lofty aspirations? No doubt there are moments when we all fail, when we miss the mark, but the vision is still there. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the merciful. Jesus' clear teaching is there for us the entirety of our lives to put those thoughts into action. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, and now us. Amen.